Let's try this again.
I think we're back.
Are we back? What happened?
I don't know.
It's the ghost of Pat.
And welcome back from our commercial break from our sponsor, which we don't have.
We're working on those. Yep. All right. So there's
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, because if Pat would have been here, he would be technology, and it would not have broken.
That's the problem, is that he is technology, so everything's not working.
Right?
Exactly. See?
Man.
Did we go live? What happened?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Okay.
We're good.
Yep.
We're good.
All right, so where were we at? Like other newsworthy?
Yep. So other newsworthy.
Yeah, I added some stuff in today that you didn't have in there. But
Right.
Today was the Apollo 11 mission began its orbit around the moon.
Spot on.
Mm-hmm.
That was in 1969.
That's right. That was right after Stanley Kubrick came in and they faked the moon landing. Shot it in the studio in Nevada.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did Brian May help with the orbit around the moon, or the Stanley Kubrick recording?
Well, if you believe that it was fabricated, then no. I don't know Brian May's. I don't have his resume, so I don't think he was. I'm pretty sure in '69 he was still with Queen.
21.
They were still playing pubs in England, I imagine.
Yeah, he'd been like 21, 22. Yeah. So it's hard to have a doctorate in astrophysics by then.
Yeah, I mean, people do it. All right, and then we had 1980. The Moscow Summer Olympics began.
And I was like 1, so I don't really remember.
Yeah, I was less than 1. No, I wasn't born yet.
Oh my!
Yeah, I was born after the Summer Olympics.
So I wouldn't.
But that was the year with the hockey team miracle. Where
it was a very cold.
The hockey team came out.
Very, very cold Olympics.
Yes. Lots of vodka.
Be sure to bring lots of alcohol, lots of vodka.
Lots of vodka.
Oh,
keep
great.
you warm.
Yes.
So
at the Gulag.
The
only thing I know about the '80 Olympics was that was the year that our hockey team, full on underdog, first Rocky, and just smashed the Soviet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they were unstoppable because it was, the peak of the Soviet Union. Of course, they were all jacked up on super soldier serum.
Right.
And if you've ever seen the Kurt Russell movie where it comes in and gives them a, rousing pep talk, and they're like, USA, USA, and they went out there and they won. I don't know.
Oh yeah, like they didn't even show the end, them playing at the end. It was just the text of talking.
I'm not sure.
How they won. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm making that up in my mind.
It was literally before my time.
Quite.
So, and then
in 1990,
yes.
Pete Rose is sentenced to 5
months.
months.
Sound it out, Josh.
I can't read it from here. Pete Rose is sentenced to 5 months in prison for tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
Yeah,
like he got kicked out of the Hall of Fame, or he got kicked out of baseball. Like to this day, he's still he can buy a seat, but the team doesn't acknowledge him because of the
he was
the gambling stuff.
Yeah.
And then the jail time that he served was for tax evasion from that stuff. But even to this day, especially now with corporations being as
corporation-y.
But they don't recognize him at all, and he's still all time base stealing.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was awesome.
When you slide to a base head first, that's called a Pete Rose.
There's a move named after you. Yeah, he shouldn't be kicked out. I don't know. I wasn't.
No, they should have. I mean, attention then. For what he did, it's not like, he butchered the opposing team with a machete,
right.
in front of school children. I mean, he made some bets. It was like, I'll not steal this base in this inning for $400 or whatever. I don't know how gambling works.
It's got to work out.
Yeah.
So in 1991, Steve Adler, the former Guns N' Roses drummer, filed a lawsuit against the band claiming the other members forced him to sign a contract taking away his royalties and writing credits. Surprisingly, Adler had concentration problems after he entered a rehab program and was withdrawing from heroin.
No.
That's surprising. I didn't see that coming.
I had a conversation with someone recently, but it's very strange. Like, all of the best rock music was written while these people are just in the dregs of heroin dependency.
Especially from the 90s.
I'm like, isn't that just you just
pretty much, yeah.
How do you really write a song
anything
when
I don't know.
You're doped out on
they don't either.
Street Thorazine.
Street Thorazine. All right, so in 1966, at 50 years old, Frank Sinatra married Mia Farrow, who was a 20-year-old actress at the time.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, in New York, and it caused a huge media event. As surprisingly as a Guns N' Roses member being addicted to heroin, the marriage only lasted 2 years.
Start spreading the news.
Yeah.
I'm marrying this girl that's 3
Decades.
younger than me. Yeah. But I mean, he was Frank Sinatra. He did what he wanted.
Yeah, he pretty much did. He's like Mick Jagger, yeah. So 3 years later to the day, in 1969, Jimmy Buffett married Miss USS Alabama, Margie Washachek.
Yeah.
Sounds like she would, yeah. And there, so he
There's
married.
a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, there is a
that
joke
name,
in there
but
about her stealing money by cleaning checks. But so their marriage is still going strong.
Well, speaking.
I'm just kidding. It dissolved 2 years later also.
So I see a trend. Did you see sidebar, little current events? The you talk about Miss USS Alabama pageantry, the Miss USA pageant, like Miss Nevada, that won is a transgender woman.
Really?
So the prettiest woman in Nevada is a dude.
That's hilarious.
So that's all I'll say about that.
Well, they can't take Alabama. Like these southern states, we have hot ladies.
Yeah, they have some of the prettiest women in the United States.
Southern
right around here.
Bells. I do declare. It may just be a small town pizza lawyer.
So then in 1985, Joan Jett calls up-and-coming heavyweight boxer Mike Tyson before his fight with Larry Sims, which Tyson won.
Obviously, in '85, yeah.
Right, because they made a Nintendo game after him.
And
From then on,
Yep.
Tyson insisted on getting a call from Joan Jett every night before every fight. And it was a practice he continued for almost 5 years.
So
He
Joan
broke,
Jett would call him?
yeah, every time before he had a fight, so that he would win.
Huh.
he did a lot of winning.
And that tradition lasted 5 years until he decided not to. And what was February 11th, 1990, against Buster Douglas,
Yeah, that was when he.
the first fight that he lost.
Yep. Man, have you?
Yeah.
I went back and I mean, just out of curiosity, I watched some stuff from him from the '80s. It's just unreal,
He's crazy, dude.
unreal. Like even like some current stuff. Like he was on. I think he was on Joe Rogan like a couple of years ago. Because he, after he hit the top and then lost and then bit off Evander Holyfield's ear.
Right.
Like he went nuts. Tattooed the side of his face, just went crazy. But I guess it was a couple of years ago. He was on Joe Rogan's show, and he had completely stopped like all like fighting and training and everything because he said the competition and is what it would get him. Just that's what made him nuts. When I watched this, he looked like he hadn't trained in a long time. He'd gotten all fat and everything, and then just recently, he fought. Was it Mayweather?
Oh, I don't know.
Whoever he fought, but I saw him, and I mean, he just got straight
got
up
ripped.
got straight up shredded. But I mean, just even like he's in his 50s, and watching him do his, it's just like, whew.
Yeah,
Like he
you
got in a
don't
bar
wanna- you don't wanna
fight,
get hit by
like
that.
in his prime, he got into a fight with a guy in a bar.
Oh, no.
One punch shattered the guy's orbital socket.
Right.
I think the guy lost his eye, broke every bone in his hand.
Holy cow.
I mean, one punch
Dang, dude.
just caved the guy's skull in.
Jeez.
He's lucky he'd kill him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Gosh.
no doubt. All right.
Okay, so 2013, Pearl Jam is playing a sold-out show in Chicago at Wrigley Field, their first show of the American tour supporting their 10th studio album called Lightning Bolt. 7 songs in, the show is delayed by lightning.
Interesting.
Oh my. They weren't able to get back on stage and finish the set until after midnight.
Huh. I'm trying to think of the last Pearl Jam album I listened to.
Alive, like this past weekend.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
listened to it.
as far as
Oh,
like when they came out.
got you.
Like I bought. I had their first 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got like what 40
They
albums.
got 1 billion, yeah. And I think they all sound relatively the same from start to, like, old school to they held on. Mm-hmm. Like Dinosaur Jr. Have you guys gone back and listened to old Dinosaur Jr. from like 87? Dude, it sounds just like the album they released like 2 months ago.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
they never changed their
Not
sound.
a bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Not a bit. It is awesome. Like, the quality of the recording is terrible, but
Right.
the music, it's obviously Dinosaur Jr.
Mm-hmm.
That's rad.
Super, super cool.
Most
Yeah,
bands,
that's
most
rare.
bands,
They evolve
yeah,
their
it's-
sound
yeah.
over time.
like
Sometimes, most of the time, not even intentional. Well, I wouldn't say it most of the time, but sometimes not even intentionally. It just
that's like when I
happens.
was telling you, you know, when I found out about Greta Van Fleet, and I was like, oh, check this out, and you were, you know, their first EP that they put out, you were just like, oh, it just sounds like Led Zeppelin. And when I first heard it on the radio, I was like, what's this Led Zeppelin song I'd never
Right.
heard? But it's really good. And then their actual first LP that they put out it's probably one of the best albums that I've heard in a while. I went and saw them in Atlanta 2019. Yeah, 2019. It was one of the top five rock shows I've ever seen. I was so mad. I was like, these kids are like 20, and they're just making me so mad. And then their new album it's completely different from that.
Really?
Yeah, it's it's okay.
That's not
It's
great like the other.
yeah, it's real mellow. A lot of organ stuff, and
Huh.
yeah, it's
Like John Paul Jones organ stuff.
maybe
Yeah. Like the
it's very ambient.
Wurlitzer.
It's much more ambient.
Okay.
Like their actual LP, like their EP that came out where they hit the scene, it was very, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it does sound a lot like, you know, you can hear a lot of Led Zeppelin influences.
Sure.
And I feel like when it was getting produced, their producer was kind of, but I mean, there was a lot of people were like, oh, this is just completely manufactured, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, then their LP comes out and it's incredible. And I saw them live and I was like, So, but I mean, yeah, just in, you know, 2.5 years and 2 LPs and an EP, it's like completely different ends of the spectrum. So to see a band like Dinosaur, or to hear a band like Dinosaur Jr. that, you know, their sound is just the same, you're just like, all right, we've got it done.
Right. For 34 years.
Yeah, it's impressive.
It is.
Yeah, most of the time, people's tastes change just gradually, and it just happens.
Yeah, and the things that they want to portray, I guess.
Yeah.
But to have your sound figured out at what I don't know, 19 years old, 20 years old, whatever. That's amazing.
Man, I'm 40. I still don't have mine figured out.
All right, so let's move on.
Some strange news.
Some strange news. This is something that I found the other day that I think is actually really cool, and it reminds me, and I completely forgot the book of the Bible that talks about it, where the bones, the dry bones, stand up and get flesh wrapped like zombies come back to life. So the Russian defense minister, let me bring the article up so I can actually look at it. The Russian defense minister announces a plan to resurrect a 3,000-year-old Scythian army through cloning.
Scythian. What Scythian?
That's
From
ridiculous.
Scythia, Josh.
Oh, well, my bad.
It's like some full-on Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Well, then, so he says it would be possible to make something of it, and then in general, it'll be very interesting.
Well, I'm curious as to. I'll have to read this article. I'm not going to do it right now, and it may answer this in the article. It probably doesn't. But what is the thinking behind, you know, trying to clone some soldiers from 3,000 years ago? Clearly, I would think that our soldiers today are much more adapted
To today's fighting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just in general, you know, people, you know, their athleticism and is, you know, like people have gotten taller,
Right.
You know, people have gotten stronger, faster, you know, over 3,000 years.
Right, and nutrition has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. So it would be, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. You know, this is Russia. You know, during the Cold War, they were trying to create human gorilla hybrid soldiers.
Yeah.
You know, up in Siberia and all kinds of weird stuff. So, but it just feels like they were just like, yeah, let's do this because it sounds neat.
I think that's probably it.
That it sounds neat.
Yeah, it's like this. You know, it'd be really cool. I'm sorry, I didn't do it with a Russian accent. You know, it would be really cool.
Besides vodka?
Besides vodka,
Do you think
we clone 3,000-year-old army.
Brilliant.
Do you think the vodka had anything to do with that idea?
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, exactly. They were on vodka when they
Huh.
came up with the idea.
They were on vodka. They were on the vodka.
Yeah, they were on the vodka.
On the vodka.
Well, yeah, they should,
Yeah.
direct, intravenous.
That's how they feed babies in Russia. Bottles full of vodka.
Eat good for you.
It keeps you warm in winter.
Yes.
We have no heat in Siberia. Stay warm.
For
Oh, that's
American,
awesome.
You guys remember in high school I dated that Russian exchange student?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought of that.
Did she have anything to do with these?
I don't know. She was a ballerina
Found
or
bodies.
something, or a ballroom dancer or something. I don't know.
We had a picture.
It was in one of the pictures, the old pictures.
Yeah, from the first episode.
Yeah.
So you have to go back and watch it also from
Right.
start to finish. There you go.
Yeah.
Trivia.
And then send us the timestamps, and we'll
Right.
put you in the drawing for a Funko Pop.
Wait. What?
Funko Pop.
Brad said he'd pay for it. We're
Oh my
good.
gosh.
Yeah.
I work for the state, dude.
Oh, so did I.
All right, so check this out. So 2 decades ago, archaeologists in Siberia made the discovery of a lifetime. They found the remains of these 3,000-year-old Scythian warriors with their horses.
Are they cloning the horses too?
I guess. They couldn't
be
just
cool.
leave them. They had to clone them. That's awesome.
So what are they going to do with them? It's like,
Send it after
So-
America.
I guess.
congratulations, you're a clone now.
Attack
What do
America.
we do?
Well, it's not like their parents are going to get mad about it.
That's true.
I guess I'll need to do some research on the Scythians. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never heard of them, so they're obviously not Spartans,
And they're definitely not Dark Jedi.
right? Well, maybe they are. I mean, we don't know.
I don't know what that is.
It's just a Jedi that's evil.
Oh, because...
But he's not a Sith. No,
No, he's not Sith.
he's not a Sith. He doesn't
Oh,
subscribe to the
Sith.
rule of 2.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
God,
I
Brad.
didn't catch this. Sorry.
Golly.
Star Wars wasn't my thing because Matrix
Stu?
was.
Kill him. Kill him
We'll
now.
put you in Russian gulag.
Do it.
Is that Stu?
Do it now.
Do it.
Do it. Do it now.
All right,
Good
so
stuff.
Yep. So that was strange.
All right, so we want to.
the time has come
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
for DK Disaster Piece Theater.
You need to be closer to the mic when you do that next time.
DK. Okay.
Oh,
I'll remember next time.
I was thinking like, it'd be great to do like a, get like the old like Masterpiece Theater like font and like get like some classical music.
Oh yeah.
Just do something silly like that.
We can do that.
And then like cut to it and just be like in a chair with like a little pipe that blows bubbles. Like, welcome to Disasterpiece Theater. Today we will be discussing.
Bad Taste.
Yeah, now,
Filmed
It- no,
1987.
little before we jump into the film.
Okay.
Brad asked me, if we wanted to do something, and I was like, yeah, we can do something, put something together real quick, go ahead and get this rolling. And I asked because I had intended on, doing a more mainstream, at least more well known, like for real classic.
Yeah.
And then Brad was like, no, let's do something schlocky and B. And so my brain went to the weirdest thing I can think of. And so today we're going to be talking about analyzing Peter Jackson's first film, 1987's Bad Taste.
Damn.
Yes.
Look at that.
Here, let me pull up my notes here real quick.
Oh, you guys are gonna love it.
It's
different.
It's different. It's not a film that I would, everybody's got to rush out and get. Obviously, it's hard to find. Luckily, Brad found it on YouTube, and so he watched it. He said he watched the whole thing.
I did. Start to finish.
But all right, so this is Peter Jackson, the guy that directed the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which
Right.
is arguably, if not the best, one of the best film trilogies ever made. Like it, in my personal opinion, technically, like as far as skill goes, it's better than Star Wars.
Okay.
Original trilogy.
That's
now
fair.
a trilogy, OG, a Ridge Tridge still stands on top just for nostalgia.
Sure.
Gives it that little bit extra. But Lord of the Rings is that whole trilogy is just it's flawless. It's like even today, the techniques, the some of the pioneered special effects, they're still tip top. I also have the extended Blu-ray edition of those. So they're not just 3 hours apiece; they're 4 hours each.
Oh my god!
So it's 12 whole hours of Lord of the Rings, and it is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, this is
Peter
his
Jackson
first.
just genius on
this was
that
his
thing.
first film. This came out in '87. It directed by Peter Jackson, written by Peter Jackson, also written by Tony Hiles, Ken Hammond, and produced by Peter Jackson. The backstory behind this movie is it came out in '87, but it took at least 4 years to film this. It started out as supposed to just be like a 10-minute short video that started filming in 1981, and it turned into bad taste. This is his first directorial debut. This is the first film that's the production company is Wingnut Films, which is his studio, the guys that pioneered Weta Workshop, and it's like the only thing, like Weta Workshop is up there with like Industrial Light and Magic for special effects.
And they did, they're known for,
CGI stuff. Yeah, they do all the CGI. But this was the first instance. Now, at the time, Wingnut Films was just Peter Jackson. Like I said, it took him 4 years to do this. It was just him and guys that he worked with at the daily paper. They would do this on the weekends.
Yeah.
I think one or two of the guys. One guy was like a city clerk. But the total budget was $25,000.
Okay.
Was total budget, and since you've watched it, you can see it's very, very low budget.
Yeah.
But what's awesome about it is it really showcased like some of his ingenuity. It shows that he's a really good filmmaker. There's a lot of good things about it. But anyway, the basic summary is the population of a small town disappears, and it's replaced by aliens who are harvesting humans for the meat in their intergalactic fast food service called Crumb's Crunchy Delights. And we are the main ingredient. So the town of Kaiharo is completely disappeared. And fun piece of trivia, Kaiharo translates in Maori to fast food.
Nice.
But so yeah, it was released in '87 at the Cannes Film Festival. A lot of its reviews are, mostly positive. I think Empire Magazine gave it a 3 out of 5. It's got a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, it was banned in Queensland, Australia, 3 weeks after it was released.
Was it just too graphic for them?
Oh, obviously. Yeah, you watched it.
It was pretty squishy.
And in Germany, of all places, it was edited down and censored to receive an FSK 12 rating, which is, I guess it's their version of PG-13.
Oh, okay.
And this is in Germany.
Yeah.
They're not known for censoring a lot of their film.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was released here on DVD in 2001 by Anchor Bay Entertainment, and for some reason Empire Magazine ranked it in 2008 as the 416th greatest film, which I don't agree with, because this is not a good movie.
Right, I understand.
The acting is awful because it's 4 guys that worked at a daily newspaper in New Zealand, but
doing it in their free time.
yeah, but the fact that he was able to make this, did all the special effects himself, and there's some pretty good stuff, like
Some of the stuff that us, because we, it had been like forever since I'd.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's obviously like low budget, like splatter gore comedy, but just the ingenuity, like the prosthetics for the aliens when they transform out of their human form.
Yeah.
He baked all those in his parents' oven.
Do you want to see pictures of it?
Yeah, if you pull the pictures up, throw those up there.
All right.
I guess throw up the cover art first.
Oh, yeah, I've been showing the cover
Okay,
art
all right,
a few
yeah.
times. Yep.
There's a shot of him in his little workshop.
Yep.
Yeah, he did all that stuff himself. There's if you watch the movie, the vomiting scene.
Yeah.
That was
Into the bowl? With
it's he made that cast himself out of plasticine,
Okay.
and it's just a puppet, a hand puppet that he uses,
Yeah.
and he just pours the concoction with like yogurt and like green food color and some other stuff, but it looks like incredible.
It does. It
for
really
just being
does.
like he plasticine molded a puppet of his face and stuck a funnel to the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen movies that actually had more time and money put into them that not some of the things didn't necessarily look even as good as some of those things.
That it's obviously a dummy, but that scene, like, I honestly didn't know that it was a dummy until you just told me.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Just the stuff he was able to do. Like all of the weapons in that movie, they're either completely non-functional. Like I think there's like a AK-47 at some point.
There's a bunch of AKs
and then
in there.
like a lot of the guns he just handmade them out of aluminum.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he drilled the holes in the barrels, and like put all those together. The magazines that go into the automatic weapons, it's just cardboard.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
like he had. I looking at the guns, I could tell what models they were, but they were kind of off. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but that explains that like to a T. That's awesome. Like the Uzi looked just like an Uzi.
Yeah, and I think what the ones like that, like the Uzi and the AK-47, you clearly tell like what model gun that is. I think those are the ones that are non-functional. But like the scene where they put on like their tack gear towards the end, and they go storming in, and they've got the old like SRS, like side load magazine.
That's what I'm looking up right now.
He made those in his shop just with aluminum tubing.
Not the MP18. That's not what I'm talking about. Sten. Sten. Yep.
Yeah, he made those himself.
That's the one where I was looking at it and I went, that looks like a Sten, but not really.
Yeah.
Like something's not right about it.
He just hand drilled some aluminum. And
that's awesome.
And fabricated all that stuff.
Tell him about that what you were telling me about, like how he did the gun flash, the muzzle.
Yeah.
The muzzle flashes. I don't know exactly the technique that he used in this. It's a little bit. Cool. It's a little bit more high tech, but there's a documentary that I linked it in the show notes. It's a documentary on how he made this, and they showed some old footage. He was like 9 and was filming, like a war movie, and just took a pencil and just poked a hole in the celluloid to create muzzle flashes when he was 9.
Are you serious?
It was like, I need a way to come up with and thought of that himself.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then,
I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah, and all the muzzle flashes in this, they're all, added in post.
Right. I can tell that.
Yeah, it's not the exact same technique, but it's very similar to it.
Yeah, but when was this? 87?
87, yeah.
That's crazy that he did this stuff all by himself.
Yeah, and like I've got some stuff here. Where's it at? Let's see. Yeah, so they shot it over on the weekends over a 4-year period. It was all self-funded until towards the end. The New Zealand Film Commission came in and gave him a little bit of money, and that's where, I guess what you see, there's some explosions and
and the house.
Yeah, now that is actually impressive because the house that they used was it's like a historical, like site, and his father had access to it, and he talked to me, hey, let us use this on the weekends, and they would go in it. But when it came to this, the scene towards the end where they, shoot it with a rocket launcher and blow a hole in it, and then it eventually turns into a spaceship and takes off.
Launches.
They built 3 separate scale models to do all that stuff.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So there's 3. There's one that's like, I guess probably an 1/8 scale of the actual house.
Yeah.
And there's a section that comes off, and that's what they blew up.
Dude,
and that,
I really couldn't tell that.
Yeah, that scene where he fires the rocket launcher at the house,
yeah.
it's shot, and it's the rocket on a string.
On a string, I did see that.
It's the same technique he uses in Lord of the Rings Fellowship when Bilbo and Gandalf are sitting at the table together.
Yeah.
And, Ian McKellen is 7 feet tall, but,
right.
Ian Holm is 3 feet tall, because they just took a table and it's optical illusion. So
it's perspective.
Yeah, it's perspective, and so that's what he did, and that's how they filmed that.
Awesome.
It's crazy.
That is
right?
totally awesome. Like that blew my mind. Like I knew the thing was on a string. You could see it because it hit and blew up, and it was still dangling there.
But the fact that he was able to, come up with that.
Yeah.
And then let's see.
And with the models, that he's apparently always been a huge fan of making the models.
Oh yeah. Well, I think one of the late night talk shows a handful of years ago, like, toured his compound. Now, when you get that famous, you get a compound like Skywalker Ranch or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's just got all these movie props, just like archives of them. But like like he built his own Steadicam rig, which
I'm about to show the picture.
yeah.
Yep. All right, it's on there.
Is it?
It's coming.
That's I don't see it.
It's on there. I lost.
Okay.
I lost visual.
Oh no, we've lost contact. But no, he built his own Steadicam rig. Now at the time, an actual Steadicam rig, which allows you to, like run at full speed and still film without the camera shaking.
Yeah.
At the time, to get an actual Steadicam rig was like $40,000,
Which is way.
and
over
he
their
built
total
one
budget.
for $15 from Parts for the Hardware. It's got a counterweight on it.
Yeah.
It's on like a boom arm. So he just straps into a harness, and it's a boom arm and with a counterweight, so he could run while he's filming.
And it would stay still. That's completely awesome.
Yeah, just engineered that himself, like the whole scene on the cliff towards the beginning.
Yeah.
Like that looks like a sheer drop off, and obviously it's not, because the character that he's playing, he's sprinting down that, and there's a lot of perspective stuff. But like they built like a camera crane out of 2x4s, and so they could get all that, and it's incredibly impressive. The creative.
In the limits that he had.
Yeah, the creative ability they had to be able to not only, what am I trying to say? It's just really good.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
leave it at that. And another great thing about it is there was absolutely no script,
Yeah.
like none
Yeah.
at all. It was just like,
Nothing was planned.
yeah, like I
out.
said, I mean, it took him 4 years to make it. I guess technically it took 6 years to make it. If it started as a 10-minute short in 81,
Yeah.
and then it came out in 87, and there was no script. So to be able to make a coherent film out of that,
So what was funny to me is, like you're saying, it took that long. There was a point at the guy that they were rescuing where he obviously got a haircut.
oh yeah, I think
Right.
there's a trivia thing in there somewhere about that. How
Yeah.
he had to keep the same dopey haircut and mustache for
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, and then he got it cut towards the end, and he reintroduced himself. Oh, hi, I'm so and so.
Yeah. But all of the audio that you hear, it's all ADR, so it's all post production.
Yeah, right.
Because he
Later.
filmed it on his 16 millimeter camera, most of it, before he got funding from the New Zealand Film Commission. And he would have to like wind it up, and he would only be able to get about 30 seconds of film at a time, but it
goodness.
didn't record any audio.
Yeah.
And then when the New Zealand Film Commission came in and gave him some money, they brought in a professional crew to mix the sound, and all because Peter Jackson and the guys he was with didn't know anything about sound production. It was all unusable.
Yeah.
So they had to do it all in post.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And I mean, you could
amazing.
tell. You're watching, you're just
can.
like, oh, this is some post. But I mean,
But it's not bad. Like, it's really not that bad.
no, there's some good stuff. And one thing that I didn't notice until I watched it again before I wrote up my 3-page essay here that I've got is I thought at first I had to look up the dates, but when he goes to his van, after his skull's fallen open, he's had to like put the hat on and then tie it on with a belt, and he just keeps getting crazier every
That
time.
was the worst that he's... Go ahead.
But he goes and he gets the chainsaw out of his
Right.
car, and I love how his safe is just a calculator and a piece of foam. He goes beep, boop, beep, beep, and he opens it up and he pulls out like it's the exact same chainsaw that they use in Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. And then he goes on this rampage with the chainsaw, and I was like, wait a minute,
I know
this came out in 87, Evil Dead 2 came out in 87, and I had to look it up because I was like, is this pre-Evil Dead chainsaw shenanigans?
Yeah.
But Evil Dead came out in March of 87, and this didn't come out anywhere over here until into the year.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I had to go back and check. I was like, wow.
If Evil Dead stole it from
Yeah.
Bad Taste.
Well, I mean, it's not really anything that I think is stolen, but it's just the fact that he gets a chainsaw and he's completely mad, and he's just like, I'm just.
Yeah.
And he cuts out like the cutout of himself and
And
kicks
then
the
walks
wall in.
Right, and walks in the building.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Or then when the ship takes off and he cuts the hole in the ceiling and dives through and chainsaws his way through the
Through the
bad
guy.
guy. And then he's like, well,
like
I'm
how
not
he
going
picks
back
up-
to Earth. And he puts on the skin. He's like, I'm coming for you. It's like, this is ridiculous.
I like how he just picks up, the spare brains that are laying on the floor,
Right.
and pops it into his head.
Yeah.
Into
And he just keeps getting crazier every time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I love that scene where it's that whole scene on the cliff where he's, like having to fight the guys. And you think he's going to go over like 4 times, and he pulls the grass out, his rope breaks, and he's, oh, but then every time he gets out, he steadies himself, and then the guy kicks him, and he bends over, and then all of a sudden the dummy just goes, oh. and it was much better than it should have been.
Right.
And then when the dummy lands, he does this thing where he like violently shakes the camera to create, I guess, like the feeling of impact.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's an edit in there, but like the dummy hits and then you see the legs, and I'm just like, if that's like they just threw that over it and landed like that, that's awesome. Or I don't know if it's an edit because it's a violent camera shake, and you could easily stick edit in there, but it's still really good.
My favorite line of the movie came from that scene So Derek was the guy that fell off the cliff.
Yeah, played by Peter Jackson.
Right. Which that took me forever to figure out too. But
how many characters does he play in that?
He plays two.
He plays the crazy.
He plays the bearded alien. All the aliens have blue shirts on.
Right.
The alien's name is Robert.
Okay.
That he plays.
Okay. But so when we're talking about him, the guy that's the really ugly guy at the very beginning.
Barry.
Yeah. He goes to the car to tell him what's going on with Derek, and he says. One of them asked him, "Where's Derek now?" His response is, "He's turned his toes up. He took a dive off the cliff. He's popped his rivets."
He's popped his rivets.
And right before that is probably my favorite line in the movie where he's over the radio. It's like, "Derek, they're on their way. You got to get out of there." And he's like, "I can't do that. I'm a Derek. Dereks don't run." I was like, "That's just awesome. Yeah. That's hilarious."
Holy cow, dude!
It's there's some funny stuff in there. There's some good stuff, but just for what it is and
some classic British humor.
Yeah, like I said, if my wife went to watch this movie after this, she would just be like, "This is awful. Why did I marry you? I want a divorce. Yeah. This is the worst thing ever. I'd rather watch Big Trouble in Little China over and over and over." But
I would too, because that's really awesome. But anyway,
it is. But it's from a film nerd perspective, it's very impressive. And so I don't think there's anything. Yeah, that's all the stuff that I had. But from this, he went on to make what I think is the bloodiest, goriest zombie movie ever that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's over here. It's called Dead Alive. The New Zealand title was Brain Dead, but I've only watched it once because it's so far over the top. Because they were like, "Here's a budget," and he was like, still in this splatter gore phase. And then he made some weird, like super R-rated Muppets type movie called Meet the Feebles, which is really weird.
I think I remember.
I rented it when I worked at the movie gallery that was up there on 14 by the Pizza Hut when it was a movie gallery. And I watched it. I was like, this is... And then from there, he went on to make... he did Heavenly Creatures, which was Kate Winslet's first movie.
Okay.
And then he did The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox.
Oh, yeah.
And Gary Busey's son and the mom from E.T.
The blonde lady.
Yeah. Dee Wallace.
Yes.
See, he knows names. He knows everybody's name.
Yeah.
Anything cinema.
And it's also got Jeffrey Combs is the crazy FBI guy that was in like the old the Reanimator and all those movies from the 80s. Yeah, he plays. Yeah. So he came in and did, and it's and then I just love the fact that somebody had to sit down and watch his filmography, and they had to watch this movie, and they were like, "Yep, this is the guy to film the unfilmable Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Right.
This is the one."
That's the guy.
Yes, the guy that filmed his character having to put his brains back in his skull and tie it,
strap it on
with a belt.
And then when he couldn't find after he stepped and squished his own brains,
he stuck some random ones in.
Alien brain.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
It was ridiculous.
How many? He didn't really do that many. And his filmography is not that long.
No, it's
from that to.
It's really not. Yeah, like I said, he only did. Yeah. He did this, Brain Dead or Dead Alive, Heavenly Creatures, Frighteners, and then started pre-production on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Now after that, he's done.
Yeah, he's done that.
He did King Kong, which I really liked it. It's really good.
With Jack
Black, Adrian Brody,
that was
Tom Hanks' kid, Colin Hanks. The only sad thing I will say about that movie, I don't like, there's too many characters.
Yeah.
The cast is too bloated.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first movies that me and Ashley watched together in theater.
And also a pretty creepy scene with like the giant insects and spiders and leeches or whatever they were. Oh man. Oh.
And then he went on. He did The Lovely Bones.
Yes, that was actually really good. Very sad.
We did that either.
Yeah.
Lovely Bones. Yeah.
So I mean, he's done a lot. So then he, the Hobbit trilogy, which is not good because there was no pre-production on that. He had 4 years of pre-production on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
he had to make that one up as he went along.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro was supposed to direct it, and then he dropped out. And so
We need somebody.
So he was doing everything on the fly, and then the studio was like, "Let's make it 3 movies."
And he's like,
So he's just
But now he's doing the last couple things he did. He took did a thing where he took a lot of old World War I footage and he upscaled it to HD and colorized it. And it's supposed to be really good. I haven't seen it. And then his new thing that he's doing is a bunch of Beatles footage. He's doing it the same way, and it's like upscaled to like 1080 or 4K.
yeah.
That's cool.
And that's
cool.
he's using Weta Workshop, using their technologies.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And, but this was just, it's like I said, this was not my first choice for the opening of DK Disaster Piece Theater because it's a very niche film.
Yeah.
Like I've only watched it a handful of times. But
as you said, it's there. It's definitely good for somebody that's looking, that can appreciate, what, filmmakers, could do,
Yeah.
with what little money and resources
Right.
that they had. Like,
Right.
Peter Jackson, he was just so talented. He did that stuff.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things when I watch
backyard.
movies, and my wife hates watching movies with me because I'm analyzing every frame of the film.
Yeah.
Looking for them Dutch angles. But whereas most people just watch a movie and their brain turns off. I'm like, oh,
Speaking of angle, that going back to that cliff scene that you were talking about, the cliff, he made it seem a lot steeper than it actually
it looks
was
like it's a
because
sheer
of the
drop.
camera angle.
It's a very good use of like camera work and perspective to create a lot of tension. Because like I said, there's like 4 instances where you're like he's going over. He's going, and every time he's like, oh, okay, good. It's like, whew.
Makes that dumb face every time.
He does make
funny.
He makes some dumb faces.
He does the entire movie.
I think when he pulls out the chainsaw for the first time, he just drools all over it.
Oh yeah, and it's like a white chalky drool.
Yeah, it's nuts,
what
man.
was that?
I
Is
don't
that how the?
I do
aliens-
love his Gryffindor scarf and his camouflage pants.
Yeah.
And his like Reebok sneakers.
that was the first thing I noticed.
You said that at my house.
It looks like a Gryffindor scarf.
But yeah, he's known for doing that in his movies. He'll cameo in like every all of his movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of directors do that. Me and my wife were watching Rear Window night before last, and there's a scene where it just cuts to and I'm just like, I see you, Alfred, and then it just cuts away.
Yep.
So are we gonna rate it?
Yeah, I think we need to give it a rating.
Okay.
It's either like I said, we discussed it before, and I think simpler is better, especially when you get to something, like this. We get too into it, but
Yeah.
I think we give it an okay
All
or
right,
no
here we go.
way.
Here we go. We're gonna give it the
Hang on, let
okay.
me pull it up so we can see it. And one second.
All right,
Sorry,
I'll wait.
I closed it so I could look at my
okay.
notes.
That's all right.
I'm sorry, I'm ruined. It's
You
very
ruined
unprofessional of me.
That's all right. We're very excited about this because
Yes.
we've learned to make our own animations. and
So
it's a lot of fun.
on a artistic, perspective, we're gonna give it an okay.
We're gonna give it an okay.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Okay by DK.
Yes, I like that.
So there's that. We're learning how to do that on our own.
That's hilarious.
Good times. Good times.
But yeah, for any future installments of this, I'm currently building a database, if you will, of films that we can choose from. Because if you leave it up to me, we're going to get some weird stuff.
That's cool.
And luckily, there's only how many viewers do we have today? 4.
Dude, we have a bunch today.
What?
We've got we had like 8 at one time.
Oh
yeah.
man, almost double digits.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working on it.
Here we
Pretty
go.
good.
We've got 4 current right now. Jeremy Brown, my sister, a guy named Henry J. Sixpack.
All
Nice.
right.
Pretty funny. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Henry.
My aunt was watching earlier too.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
I don't think my parents are.
But this is definitely it's not a film that obviously everyone is going to enjoy.
No, obviously not.
It's debatable on whether or not it's actually really good. But from a technical perspective,
Yes.
it is very impressive.
It's
That's what I was
entertaining.
looking
I
for
mean,
earlier.
you just sit down and watch it. It's entertaining.
It's bonkers.
It's-
It's
yeah.
just ridiculous. The fact
Expect it to be ridiculous.
it is.
and
It is
it's
exactly what we would try to do when we made our horror movie at the cabin.
Right.
This
Yes.
is
If
this
you
is
were
what I
a- if you were
envisioned.
able to do it, that's
like
what
this
you
is
would-
what I envisioned that we were all thinking we were going to make.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's a low budget, comedy horror that's just ridiculous in
That's
every
spot
sense of the
on.
word.
Right. That's awesome. Did you get everything covered?
I think so. I think we covered everything.
That's
I didn't
got it.
cover anything, gross and
Yeah.
if anybody's, if you want to see what what it's all about, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I may have linked to it. So for the record, it's not safe for your children.
No, not at all.
It's not something you want to watch with your kids. Or
it's-
my mom.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's not really any language. I mean, there's maybe
There's
a
some
little
here
bit,
or there,
but
yeah.
it's the like excessive.
Dude. And every
it's
time
gore.
somebody in that movie has a pair of glasses on, there's going to be blood splattered on it. In every scene, it's got glasses.
I love. Yeah, there's one guy. I don't know if I've got him on here. One of the guys that worked with him. Which one was it? I may not have him listed. I don't have him listed, but he died 23 different times.
He was an alien?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He was the first guy that gets killed where gets half his head shot off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
that-
my gosh.
and he would just obviously you see he's wearing a wig.
Yeah.
And he would just put on different wigs, and
Yeah.
he died 23
So
different times.
funny.
I love the scene where they're all like grabbing the hammers, and they get like the
Yeah.
hammer, giant hammer, and the tiny little hammer,
He's like,
and that Derek's on the cliff, and they're trying to hit him with the hammer, and they're banging the hammers together, and he's
Right.
getting out of the way.
right.
Like I said, if you're a fan of British humor, this has got a whole bunch of it in there. So
I can see that, yeah. Yeah. And I like how it took, like, an entire magazine shot out of that Sten to kill the first, like, 2 or 3 of these guys. But then later on, they're just, like, headshots left and right. Bam,
Oh yeah,
bam, bam.
oh yeah. I think I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I was talking too much.
Yeah, nah.
That's all right.
it probably wasn't important.
I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't. But it was, that. So that was the first episode of DK Disaster Piece Theater.
Sweet.
So don't expect, just from the name, you should not expect every film to be, Citizen Kane.
Right.
You
Because
know.
it's got disaster in the name.
But I'm not gonna pick something that's awful. I mean, we're not gonna watch Step It Up to the Streets and review that.
I was really hoping.
Sorry, Josh, but
Delete that off
You just
your
destroyed
database.
my world.
But future installments will be more mainstream, more movies that people have heard of. If they haven't seen
That's
already.
cool, man.
So-
That
But
was
this
fun.
was one you were like, let's go B, and I was like, okay,
You
you want to
said
go
it.
that way, we're going.
It
going
was
full on B.
It was all right, man. It was all right. There were a couple times I was like, I don't know, but then it would get back to dumb, and it was funny. Okay.
I think. Oh, I know what I was going to say. My favorite scene in the whole movie is when the other two guys show up, Ozzy and Frank, and they're driving in that car,
Yep.
blasting the heavy metal music, and
Right.
it cuts to the back seat, and their speaker system is just 2 house speakers sitting in the back seat. I was like, that's the most New Zealand thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, that's Southern Hemisphere redneck all
Yeah,
the way.
Right.
Exactly.
That's so
And I was
funny.
just like, this is amazing.
Southern Hemisphere redneck.
Or when he fires that rocket and it misses the main bad guy and then misses Derek after he's chainsawed himself to the wall
Yeah.
and blows up the sheep.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's good. That's funny.
That was one.
Just random sheep.
That got me. Yeah. Jeez, dude. That's why I wanted to watch that or something like that because
Yeah.
they're always hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I think that's it. Thanks for joining us. So we'll be here in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Check Facebook for the next date, and we'll keep you guys updated.
And we'll, we look to hopefully be posting more things.
Yeah.
Not necessarily full episodes, some smaller, more easily digestible content.
Yeah.
For that, was it the YouTube algorithm?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Our
We're
social
working
media
on
overlords.
it. We're working on it.
Yep. So we love doing this, so we'll keep doing it.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
when we
a
get to watch stuff like that, it's
Yeah.
completely awesome. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Adios.